Hey viewers, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
I found that my wife is cheating with a high school friend she reconnected with a couple weeks ago. I have the full log of text messages between them in all its sordid detail. In these messages it appears clear that they hooked up at least 3 times. Not only that, but she is bragging about having sex with this guy to 2 of her friends. I confronted her and she breaks down crying and starts telling me that it was just an online-only fantasy. She tells me that I drove her to this because I didn't give her enough attention and that she was desperate. It's true, we haven't had sex very frequently lately because I have a relatively low libido to begin with. I am full of resentment at the fact that I do 90% of the housework and childcare, and the fact that I haven't slept in the bed for a couple of years because she likes to co-sleep with the kids. I guess I am culpable. Apparently I made her do this. She also says she stuck with me through all the things I have done in the past. I was not very good with money for a while and overspent forcing her to borrow money from her dad. I had a brief period where I questioned my sexuality, bisexual, and I have been a frequent user of porn. Are these things equivalently odious? Should I allow myself to be guilted into staying in this marriage like this? Anyway, through all this I have no photos of them together, so I guess I can't definitively prove anything, yet the texts appear to be clear what happened despite her insistence that they are just fantasies. I start to relent, and give her what she wants. I suggest maybe we need to see someone to help sort through these problems. We did counseling in the past, but I am not a very emotionally open guy and had a hard time talking, but she also resisted the counselor whenever he pushed back against her. She wanted him to fix me and didn't take kindly to being told that she might have a role to play in our difficulties too. So after we conclude this discussion, with her steamrolling me, and offering to let me text her AP and friend for more info, I come to find out later from her text messages that she was texting both her AP and one of her friends to see if they would cover for her and tell me it was fantasy only. Lol. I printed every text message she sent him. Why would she use text to contact someone to arrange cover? Good grief. I haven't confronted her yet about this. But it sure doesn't bode well for any reconciliation. We tried to have some make-up sex after, but before I read her attempts at covering things up, but I had a hard time maintaining an erection and couldn't finish because I kept thinking about the things said in the messages. I don't know about reconciliation. I was all set to leave her and then the crocodile tears got to me. But this new revelation of cover stories opens it all up again. I don't know what to do anymore. She makes more than I do, we have a house, kids, etc. And being a very involved parent, I need to have my kids at least 50-50. I am afraid that my low-paying job will hinder that as a possibility. Update. My STBXW continues to deny any physical involvement with AP. She is doubling down on her story. The day we got the polygraph and I called bullshit, she decided to take the kids for a couple hours and texted me calling me a fucking moron and told me that I took the kids so you could see what it is like to be without your family. Thanks, real niece. Already weaponizing the children. Keep in mind too that throughout all this, I have yet to swear at her, yell at her, call her names. She has now down all 3. And to top it off, I grey rocked her for a week or so and slept in the basement. In response to this she started to say that I was treating her horribly. I mean really. I was giving her the cold shoulder and not giving her any attention, and yet she continues to blame me for everything. Lies to me, turns me into the butt of all jokes at her workplace, and I'm the one treating her horribly. Indeed. She was still in constant contact with AP until last Friday. Even in the text to inform him she would not be contacting him she qualified it by saying, for a while. No, this is not, for a while, this is permanent. She just does not get it. Her claim all along is that this was strictly online and that because online, not a relationship. Really? Not a relationship. She has a personal history with this guy, she met up with him 3 times, but because most of it was via text, there is no relationship. She even goes on Facebook on Friday and posts something to the effect that, you don't realize how important someone is until you can't talk to them anymore. Somehow I don't think she is talking about me. I find out today that she is telling her friends she misses him so bad. Funny that she would say that if it was not a relationship. Her coworkers are also looking for other ways to get her in contact with him, via email, or some other means. Definitely not over. Last week I also got an admission from her, via a coworker, that she was indeed lying on the polygraph. She said, Well, actually I was lying, I'm pretty good. I could be a criminal. I should rob a bank. I would pass the test. She also admitted to taking so much of her coworker's lorazepam that she doesn't even remember the drive back to work that day. I also heard that she has been saying that AP wants to do it again, she wants to do it again. She seems to have an obsession with his truck and so badly wants to go for a ride in it. They never got a chance before I broke up the fun, but clearly it is still on her mind. But apparently he is such a sweet guy that he wants us to fix up our marriage first. She wrote me a sob story of a letter in which she once again pinned all blame on me, and even said that I would really like AP, he's a real cool guy. Indeed. I would like to see him spit his teeth out on floor. I stopped reading. I left my ring on the bathroom counter last week and she came home and found it. She came and badgered me for an hour while I was cooking supper and eventually I relented and put it back on. She came home Friday in tears after I texted her about how this was affecting me. She is, I think, maybe, starting to realize the shit she has caused and finally acknowledged my feelings. I softened, again, but I also haven't really changed my mind. I just want the argument to end, and I just am not assertive enough to say enough is enough, just fuck off. So I went for a 3-hour walk and have started to let her back in a little. I also agreed to the marriage counseling this week. I don't want to go. Since I started to let her in a little, she has once again started to invalidate my feelings and trying to get me to agree with her that what she did does not constitute a relationship, etc. If I would just do that, I would feel less stressed. It's just that simple. I had a really good session with a therapist last week who works in the same office where we are taking our marriage counseling. She was very affirming and thinks that I should trust my gut on this one. She stopped short of advocating for divorce, saying that it's my choice, but also said that I deserve better. Pretty sure I understand her subtext. MC will be with a different therapist, but in the same office, so this gives me some hope that they might be more or less on the same page and will push back against my STBXW a little. I know her primary agenda is to push for an open marriage. I guess through MC, I hope to present the whole story of what happened, and hope to reiterate my desire to divorce. Perhaps having someone else there will help to embolden me and bolster my position. I don't know though, taking a bit of a risk there, I think, given the fact I know most of you seem to disagree with MC it and under the circumstances. I do have a lawyer on retainer. Unfortunately, it is a slow process so far. He has advised starting with a mutually agreed separation agreement as it tends to be a less conflictual and litigious process over straight-up filing. I know this will disappoint some of you and me, frankly, that there may be a dramatic serving of papers in the workplace, but I, as a relatively low-income earner, and with 3 kids, am inclined to agree with his advice, at least for now, and depending on what her response is and the type of lawyer she decides to select. I am in the process of gathering the necessary documents for him to get started on this. In the meantime, I am a little less of a wreck than I was a week ago. Some of the initial shock and anxiety is wearing off. It is, however, coming back since I stopped with the gray rock bit this week. Every time I get near her, I start getting anxious and just disgusted. I can't stand to be around her, so I have been taking a lot of walks in the evenings and glad to be back to work after the weekend. Having trouble sleeping next to her too, especially since she has started to bug me for sex already. Nope, sorry, not doing that. Having some real trouble with self-worth and suicidal ideation that is really scaring me too. I couldn't do that to my kids, but at the same time, my front tires are bald and I keep hoping for a blowout followed by a fiery crash on the highway to work. I'm fucking miserable, and she is continuing on more or less like nothing ever happened. Disgusting. That's it for now, I suppose. Perhaps I will have another update after MC this week. I'm sure that will be a shit show. As to the kids, I know all of this and fully agree that coming from a broken home is to be preferred to living in one. Thankfully, so far there has not been any big blowouts inside the home or in front of the kids. The younger 2 are completely oblivious, 8, 5, although I am sure they can pick up on my mood to some extent. My oldest knows something is going on. In fact, when the kids were out with STBXW, when she scooped them last week and told me she wanted me to see what it would be like without my family, he asked her if we were going to divorce. She said no. She does not, of course, want divorce. Clearly she doesn't care about her reputation among her coworkers, as they all know. But her family is quite another story. Update 2. Up to last Friday, I had my mind set on divorce. Things came to a head that night after we had both had individual sessions without marriage counselor. I had stated in that meeting that I was done with the marriage and wanted out. The MC accepted this, but was not very affirming or validating really. The only thing I got out of it was her belief that an open marriage was impossible under the circumstances, as I had told her that I believed that my wife was going to use MC as a way to push for one. She has stated this to her AP, and that for any reconciliation to occur, AP would have to be out of the picture. Also, since her coworkers' friends have been enabling my wife's activities, their friendship would probably need to be reconsidered as they could not be considered friends to the marriage. My wife had her session 2 days later. She started by bringing the MC a bouquet of flowers. Seems like a bit of a manipulative trick to me, but I guess she did make space in her schedule for us. Whatever. My wife gets home 2 hours later, I had gotten only 1 hour, and says her session went very well. Apparently, the MC said that my wife was fairly justified in having the affair and that she should maintain contact with AP. I told her to go away and slept in the basement. The following morning she comes down and gives me the tears and runs the guilt trip about giving up on the marriage. God damn it, but I folded and committed to working with her on it. Keep in mind, nothing has changed as far as her story, her stance on anything that has happened here. Nothing. She continues to say we both committed infidelity, and that it was me who drove her to it, etc. Saturday and Sunday were good, until Sunday evening she comes to me and says she wants to see AP on Wednesday at the bar for a drink because she has some questions for him. I say no, not happy about that. She tells me the MC told her she could stay in contact with him as he is good support. Read. So, thinking, well, if she is going to persist, may as well give her the rope she needs to hang herself with. I think that part of her reluctance to divorce right now also stems from the fact that she is the higher income earner. I have seen messages from her coworkers sending her job postings for me and saying things like, these could be very useful to us. When I asked my wife what that meant, she said they meant of us, as in her and I, yet the messages make clear that, us, refers to her and her coworkers. I think she may just be looking to get me into a higher paying job so that she would not be on the hook for child support, etc. AP is not vaxxed so cannot go to the bars. I catch their text conversation and the thing that stands out to me is she tells him she needs to talk to him about procedures, not feelings. What procedures, exactly? She has stated in the past that both her and AP want to do it all over again, so right away I start thinking that D-Day number 2 is right around the corner. But because he is not vaxxed their meeting doesn't go ahead. However, on Thursday she is late coming home from work. I check the location of her phone and she has stopped at his house. She tells me she is late because someone had a big announcement at work. AP was not home, but she dropped a letter off at his house. I haven't been able to find out the contents of the letter, but it seems to be of some importance, because she keeps talking about it with her friends, and she tells AP that, the ball is now in your court. Frankly, I think this letter is her last-ditch attempt to get him to open up to a more serious relationship with her. He has yet to respond, and her mood shows how she feels about this. She is also texting her friends and asking things like, does this mean it's all over, etc. Clearly there is more to her feelings for her AP than she lets on. Remember, she has previously written sappy love poetry about him, but insists that they are just words on a page, and mean nothing. But there are more clues to her feelings. She texted him this week to have him send pictures of him in his sexy coveralls. Now all of a sudden, she wants me to wear coveralls during sex. Also, her musical tastes have changed to match his. Previously anytime I would change the radio to the hard rock metal station, she would change it and say, I hate that name of station. Now she is listening to it on the ride to and from work. Downloading and listening to Nin and Five Finger Death Punch, etc. All music that I have never heard her listening to. Strange, no? The amount of mental space and energy she is devoting to this guy goes way beyond just friends. I have given this relationship sincere effort this week doing all the things she has stated she wants to see from me. But she gave me 2 days before getting into contact with AP and continuing to try and monkey branch to him. So far, he hasn't responded to her letter. She did find one of my spyware apps on her phone this weekend and removed it. But redundancy. So maybe she will get complacent thinking that her texting is now secure. Insofar as reconciliation goes, my feelings for her have definitely cooled. I guess I still love her, in some way, but it just isn't what it was before. I still find myself anxious and tense around her, but I'm trying, I guess. But she clearly is not putting the effort in, but is a pretty good faker. I guess about what you would expect from a cheater. Right now, I guess reconciliation is being driven mostly by the kids and the fact that I hate the idea of putting them through a divorce, and also by financial considerations. I could probably make it on my own with my relatively low wage, but the margin would be thin, very thin. Nonetheless, this marriage almost certainly has an expiry date. At least I can tell the kids that I tried, even though my commitment to it is paper thin. I am still working in the background on divorce. Gathering documents, which is complicated by the fact that some of the documents have to come from her. The other things is that her friends are making me out to be sneaky and dangerous, as in potentially violent. As such, I am taking steps to prevent these sorts of accusations, such as moving my firearms off-site so that they cannot be used as pretext to evict me from the home or for a restraining order. That, and I need to sit down this week with a mortgage broker to see just what I could potentially qualify for. Her father is also now involved in giving her a lot of really bad outdated advice on divorce and custody. He has planted in her mind the idea that I would have to walk away with nothing. Both him and her agree that she would go for full custody of the kids and that I would have to walk away from the house without even so much as the equity in the house or the property. He says that he would allow me to visit the kids occasionally. Sorry Grandpa, but that may be how it worked in 1979 when your wife divorced you for cheating on her while pregnant, no less, but things have changed since. Marital property, equity in the house, and custody are now 50-50 more or less by default unless they can prove abuse, neglect, or some other grave misdeed. My wife says that her grounds for going for full custody would be my low income, and my, by her diagnosis only, PTSD from Afghanistan. I have never sought treatment for PTSD because I have never suffered from PTSD arising from my experience in Afghanistan. Nonetheless, my wife says so I guess I must have it. Right. That's how it works, isn't it? Right. Again, the potential for an accusation of violence is high here as well. Anyhow, I am struggling with some really dark feelings of negative self-worth right now for caving to this instead of just straight up telling her to hit the bricks. I feel like a dupe, although I told her straight up that I still can't really accept her story. She says the text messages were well written, but that's the problem, they are too well written. And I have caught her in so many lies that I can't accept her explanation at face value. But I have allowed myself to give her the benefit of the doubt. She certainly has done a masterful job of planting those seeds of doubt. And I hate her for it. I guess that's it for now. Any advice on how to deal with this would be appreciated. I feel like I have painted myself into a corner here. Probably because I have. FML. Update 3. She blamed me for my inattentiveness, porn use, and lackluster sex life. Fair enough, I guess. I could do better, and so on that basis I decided to reconcile. She passes a polygraph test with the help of a large dose of lorazepam obtained from the coworkers who are enabling all of this. Then brags about beating the test. While she stopped sexting AP, she never broke contact, and so I had a hard time reconciling and giving her all the attention, sex, etc. that she wanted. On October 30th, in our final MC session, I committed to the relationship. We went home, had sex. Afterwards, around midnight, her phone pings with a message from him saying that he wasn't home on Friday. Interesting, no? I found out a couple weeks later after getting into her phone that she was asking him for a hookup that coming Friday. She had deleted the message, but her new phone sends deleted messages unbeknownst to her to a trash folder. I asked her who was texting you at midnight, to which she answered that it was just her friend from work. Yet another lie. That weekend, she was out grocery shopping while I was sledding with the kids. We get home about the same time. She's crying, so I ask what's wrong. She says that she broke things off with AP. Well, boo-hoo. Anyway, when I get into the phone weeks later, I discover that she didn't break things off. What had actually happened was he got tired of her pestering him for a picture of his junk. He doesn't do the sex thing when it's his time to have custody of his daughter. So after a day of her pestering him for this picture, he told her to calm down and that he was with her daughter and knew that she wasn't going to be his priority this weekend. She responded with an angry tirade of her own, to which he responded that this was getting too emotional and he was now out. So, it appears that he ended it with her, not the other way round. I thought maybe we could get on with things then. Another mistake. January is our daughter's birthday and AP reaches out to wish her a happy birthday. By this time my wife has given me access to her phone and in an effort to be transparent, tells me that AP texted her. She tells me though that it was only about the birthday. I don't trust her, so I look and see 3 days worth of text messaging, which, while not sexual in nature, went far beyond just kid talk. It emerges that he is at home the next 2 days because of the weather. She works at home. He's at home. So that night she spends 3 hours in the bathroom grooming herself. Don't think she ever did that for me. She visits him at his house the next day and has sex with him. I confront her and she says that the slurping noises are them drinking tea and the moaning and groaning is his asthma. Despite it being clear what was going on, she insists that it wasn't what it sounds like. I am ready to walk, but because I am generally unassertive and have a hard time standing up for myself, despite the bullying, encouragement of people here, I decide to stay. I guess other reasons too, such as fears about custody and having a place to live since she out-earns me. She tells me this latest visit is my fault as well because I wasn't doing what she had asked me to. I was doing it, however imperfectly, given the fact that she was still in contact with AP, and the fact that I have never been able to accept her story that it was just sexting was eating me alive. After that visit, she stopped seeing him. However, in May, she had been at home with our sick son for a week. We go to a bar in the evening. She says she wants some time with me, but also wants some time to herself, so I stay for a couple drinks and leave. I find out later from another deleted text thread that she was texting him after I left. She asked if he had his daughter that week. Turns out he did. So what if he hadn't? Would she have stopped at his house on the way home? She texts him a happy birthday message in June. I confront her about this one, but not the previous contact. I have been in therapy working on assertiveness, etc. This whole time. Throughout, I am getting better at asserting myself, and so I have pushed back on her more and more as she attempts to reconcile by getting me to accept responsibility for all of this. I can accept my faults as a husband, but I will not accept responsibility for her affair. She will not accept that this was an affair. She constantly uses the passive voice when talking about it, when app's name happened. Like it just happened. Her strategy has been twofold over the last 6 months or so. She tells me she suffers from depersonalization disorder and that as a result she has no control over her actions, and wouldn't you know it, happens only when she is with AP. It also, apparently gives her amnesia, so she won't answer questions about her reaching out to him in May. This is all hot garbage. My therapist has told me that depersonalization does not work this way, does not cause amnesia, and does not absolve one of responsibility. In addition, she would be less than 1% of the population who has such persistent depersonalization. She is trying to get me to attend a psychiatrist appointment with her so that they can explain to me that she didn't cheat, because depersonalization. Her other strategy is to claim it wasn't cheating because, in my mind, we were separated. I tell her separation does not work that way. You can't kiss me and tell me you love me, and continue to have sex with me, while seeing another man and not have me consider it cheating regardless of whether you consider us separated. Also, she insisted to her AP that she had no intention of leaving me. But apparently, her doctors and lawyers who she told me she consulted before the affair, not true, they were consulted after, and when I called her out on that, she tells me now there is a third lawyer that she consulted before. Indeed, and psychiatrist, all agree that she was separated and didn't have an affair. One really has to marvel at her ability to spin a tale. It really is remarkable the lengths she has gone to escape having to take accountability for her actions. No remorse shown, any apology I have gotten has either been walked back or qualified with a long list of, but you, etc. afterwards. This has been absolute mental torture. I have tried to give her what she wants, but my mental state has verged on suicidal. I have zero libido now and have been dealing with Ed for the first time in my life this year. This is no way to live a life. I find myself so tense and anxious being around her that I can't sleep in the same bed as her. It has been brutal and the worst thing I have ever experienced in my life. I told her a couple weeks ago that I intend to separate and have put the process in motion. She still will not accept it, although she is telling me that she will not stop me. She still tries to get me into hugs, kisses, etc. I just can't do it anymore. The final straw was this Christmas when she got upset with me not wanting to attend her workplace Christmas functions where I would be forced to interact with the same people she has been smearing me to for years and who enabled and encouraged her affair. She also told me that she was running an experiment on me. She made sure to show me affection and give me compliments, and then counted the number of times I reciprocated and presented me with a tally sheet wherein I was deemed deficient. A tally sheet of things, right down to the relative number of orgasms each of us had. God damn. What a relief. While there is some trepidation about separation, custody, etc., my mood has been far lighter in the last week than it has in 18 months. I don't have to second guess my interactions with my kids anymore, and I don't have to worry about performing for her. She is upset and is seething about the fact that I'm not yet over this, but it was 2 years ago, she says. It has only been a year and a half since I first found out, 1 year since her last visit to his place, and only 6 or so months since her last confirmed contact with him. I suspect she was talking to him from work right up until about October or so based on some, albeit, circumstantial evidence. And with her lying, gaslighting, manipulations, etc. It may as well have happened yesterday. And she is having everyone throw her the pity party because her awful husband won't accept her diagnosis and is now divorcing his poor mentally ill wife. The smear campaign continues. Call me what you want, but for the love of all the gods, don't be me. It's not worth it. My kids have noticed my mood, my family is worried, my coworkers, too. I guess that's it. Pretty pathetic, really.